Knowing which Commander cards to buy can be tricky. We've compiled our knowledge of trends, all-time low prices, and reprints to bring you the cards most worth buying for the month of August.
I'm Mia, and I almost burned myself cooking a s'more.
I'm BZ. I have 37 bug bites right now. We're the Nitpicking Nerds, sponsored by Card Kingdom, the best place to go if you're on the internet, if you're in person, if you have a friend who's going on the internet. Recommend Card Kingdom. Recommend our link, because that lets the lights stay on in the studio and helps them know that we sent you.
Card Kingdom, best place for you to buy your cards, your product, your friends' cards, their product, all one package, all one cart. Use our link. Sell your cards there. Use our link. Tell them we sent you. It really helps us. And Amber, we're also sponsored by Dragon Shield, best sleeves in the multiverse.
Good sleeves.
If you use the code
NERDS
at checkout, you can save 5% of your Roma tax dollars on your entire order, which includes Amber sleeves. Does that include the amber colored sleeves? Yes, and also the amethyst and all of the other pretty jewel tone sleeves that they have.
Moxfield, add later. And foil armor, because they're amazing and we're going to be talking about them. But if you want to keep the lights on in the studio by yourself, you can do this specifically with your own money through Patreon. We would appreciate it. It's optional, but we're going to get into this video. It is the cards most worth buying for August. That means these cards are more than 100% worth their price in terms of the gameplay output that you get, according to us.
And we're not saying spec on these cards, but if you want to have a little bit of a spec game, why don't you check out this show later? Because we have a little bit of a segment about that, which we've been doing every single month as a friendly competition.
Stay tuned. So we're going to start. We're just going to get right into it because we don't want to waste anybody's time. It's Farewell at $5.49, our first entry. 4 white for a sorcery. Choose one or more. Exile all artifacts, creatures, enchantments, or graveyards. This is one of the cards you are most known for right now.
That's crazy that I am, because I think that this card is very, very good. I feel like I don't have a ton of decks that can run this because I'm not playing white as much as I used to, but when I play white, I am running this quite often. It is the catch-all of board wipes. People always say, like, I wish board wipes were better in XYZ. They made that. They made the best board wipe. Yes, it's a little expensive in terms of mana, but it can hit everything. It'll get everything that it wants, and then it also doesn't exile itself. So if you want to be miserable like me every once in a while, you can just kind of loop it with like Ewit and stuff.
Yeah, I would say this is the best board wipe in terms of coverage. Not like, every single factor, but this hits everything. There's nothing left after this, except maybe your own planeswalkers if you want to maneuver things to where like you attack someone else's and then now nothing's in play except for yours and you start activating them. That's really sweet. But this card has been trending downwards. It was like 10, 12 for a while, and now it's 550, which after a couple reprints, a couple pre-con things, super happy to have it at this price. I think the people who are the most upset about Farewell have the most difficulty rebuilding from it, and I think that's very doable, at least that I've seen, especially with you playing it and me a little bit. I dab a little bit. It's very rebuildable after. If you sequence and you really plan for it, or maybe sometimes you don't choose all modes. That's also, it's optional to choose all modes. But wiping everything away and then landing a few things, or on the next turn having a really splashy turn, it's very possible. And I think Farewell doesn't necessarily add an hour to every Commander game.
I also think that with Farewell, being reprinted into precons makes it a lot more accessible and just exposed to everyone. I feel like sometimes with certain one of these cards, if you're not seeing it that often, it can be a very big shock when you see it, or, it's just like this bomb. But if you see it being played more and more, as we've been seeing it in the precons, not only is the price going down, we're also getting used to it. So we have better play patterns around it. We're getting a little bit more like exposure therapy to it. So we can actually like figure out strategies where it's like, even though we have these precons that are kind of like battle cruisery, precons are still getting better nowadays, and we're able to rebuild from these catch-all board wipes, or mostly catch-all board wipes, faster than we could in years past.
It's funny, we went from, oh my god, this board wipe looks really good, to it's too much. I've been like scarred by it, and now we're like healing, and then maybe we're going, hey, what's Farewell up to right now? I feel like that could be a good board wipe for my deck.
I love it in the brackets 2 and 3s, and if you can ramp fast enough and you need a lot of protection, maybe even bracket 4 if you're trying to do more of like a very pillow 41, but definitely in the bracket 2s and 3s, it's done a lot of work for me.
Yeah, I think also when you get to bracket 3 and 4, it's like, those are the high power games where I'm not going to be really too upset at any board wipe at any time, aside from maybe if your playgroup doesn't like land destruction or stuff, but that still falls within the bracket. So I think bracket 3, bracket 4, great place for it because I think it's more acceptable there. Next up is Ashaya, Soul of the Wild. What a card. Every time I see this, I think, am I dead? It's $7.50 right now, and it's 3 green for a star. Power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control, and non-token creatures you control are forest lands in addition to their other types. This might be the best non-MDFC card to come out is Zendikar Rising.
This is a crazy card. I completely agree with you when you're like, am I dead when this hits the field? It is a combo machine. Turning everything into lands can be so impactful in your game, whether that's untapping all your lands and bringing them all back, or it's like, ooh, bounce a forest to your hand and then do XYZ. Ashaya, whenever I'm playing at least, definitely means there's some sort of combo involved. And just watch out for the Armageddons, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, this is a really solid card that can refund you all the mana you spent to cast it right away with your other stuff that you have in play. And it just has 2 or 3 card I win the game combos with Quirion Ranger, which says like return a forest or return a land, untap a creature. And it's like, well, this is a forest, so you return it to untap a land that then taps for it. And now you have infinite leaves and enters and landfall stuff going on. And then there's like Argothian Elder, which is like untap 2 lands. That could be itself, and now you just make infinite mana. So there's so many different ways in decks, not just Ashaya as the commander, but easy to include some of this stuff. I mean, Ashaya starts going off with like Sylvan Safekeeper, where now you're sacrificing other creatures to give your creature Shroud. It kind of breaks the game in a really fun way. Like, it's like, whoa, I can do what now? And then your opponents have to respect it because it's super dangerous.
I'm surprised to see it reprinted in the Tarkir Dragonstorm precons. I feel like for a while this was a very untouchable card, or
it was
one
15 for a long
where I
time.
was like, where is this going to get another reprint? Is this even acceptable at this like precon level, because of the fact that it has so many 2 and 3 card combos? So just adding in a single card or two can really bump up the power of your precon from modified to like, wow, that's already in bracket 3+. But Ashaya is really awesome, and I'm happy to see it at $7.49.
Yeah, I don't even recommend buying Sword of Feast and Famine, but it's got to feel pretty good to throw one on a creature and then untap all your creatures. Also, super sweet. What's our next card?
Our next card is Kappa Cannoneer at $1.79, 500 blue for 4/4, but it has Improvise, which says your artifacts can help cast this spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities, pay for 1 of this. It's ward 4, and whenever this creature or another artifact you control enters, put a 1/1 counter on this creature, and it can't be blocked this turn. Wow, does this thing get big fast. You could slap it down for just a couple mana because you can tap all of your artifact tokens, or all the ones that you don't really need to tap to begin with, just like all of your equipment and stuff. This comes down, and then you have a bunch of creatures or artifacts enter. This does not limit it to once per turn or anything like that. And then you can swing for this gigantic thing with ward 4, which is basically hexproof.
Yeah, I would actually say that this is one of the more broken cards from like recent modern Magic in a very like literal sense. This card doesn't make any sense. It triggers itself when it enters, so it's not really a 4/4. It's basically always a 5/5. Like, it will trigger its own ability. No card does that. I don't know why it does that. And also ward 4. They've been experimenting with it. Well, they were back in this era. Ward 4 is too many. That's just hexproof. Like, it's actually crazy how unpayable ward 4 is. And then the fact that this thing now makes itself unblockable means you can suit it up with equipment if you want to improvise them out with the equipment, or just throw a bunch of counters on it, play a bunch of Mishra's Bubbles. That's my preferred strategy. Double its power, whatever. You're hitting somebody for like 20.
This thing is gigantic. It goes so fast, and getting it out for just a single blue is very doable in these, in these artifact token type decks, or even just artifact decks where you're just suiting this thing up, or just suiting up anything in your deck. This can get so big. I would be completely worried about this. And I'm like, I hope I have a board wipe, because I'm not willing to pay 5 mana for, a Swords to Plowshares on this.
This is one of those cards that definitely bottomed out with the reprint in MH3, I think, maybe MH2, probably MH3. And I think it's going to be on the rise up as people just go like back to it and realize, yeah, ward 4 is crazy, and I think you don't need to be so hyper-fixated and focused on just paying a single blue for it. I'm playing 3 for this. I just want to get it out as soon as possible because it's a 5/5, and then it's going to hit for 6 and 7 and maybe more after that, and just get it down. It will impact the board every time.
I mean, don't say, yes, it's good to put it down for 3, but with the amount of tokens and stuff we're just making nowadays, it is so easy to even get this down for 2 or 1. Yes, you can put it down for 3 on turn 4 or something, but I feel like there are just so many things that can spit out Thopters or spit out, clues or something, and you go, okay, well, I'll improvise all of those, and then I'll get this down for a single blue, and then I'll play a bunch of stuff after it and make it even bigger.
There's the card from Edge of Eternities that just came out. It's got warp for 1 mana, and when you cast artifacts, it spits out drones.
Yeah,
and it's an artifact, so that seems great for Kappa Cannoneer. New tech. on the horizon with the new set. I'm happy to experiment with it because it's always been good and it's so cheap.
We're now joined by Miso, and the next card is also a big combo machine. It's Walking Ballista at $8.99. XX for a 0/0, but it enters with X 1/1 counters on it. You could pay 4 mana to put a 1/1 counter on this creature, or you could remove a 1/1 counter from this creature to deal 1 damage to any target. This is the perfect sync if you have infinite mana and you could just ping the entire table to death.
Yeah, most of the time I would say I wouldn't recommend Walking Ballista if you don't have some way to put counters on it that is not the 4 ability. If you just have it as, if you're talking like high bracket 4 and it's literally a card that does nothing in your deck until you make infinite mana and win, that's cool. That's fine. Most of the time for like bracket 3, I think where people want to play is really high power, but you want some counter synergies. But this is just an auto include. A literal auto include in any deck that cares about +1/+1 counters at all. It comes down for 2 or 4, and then you just put all your counters on it, and now it's a machine gun that you don't have to use right away, that you're holding everybody hostage with, and then you can just wait while they don't play their Elvish Mystics and stuff to then stockpile more counters on it and eventually just kill people.
It's so juicy, especially in those decks where it's like, you can proliferate. Everything comes in with extra +1/+1 counters. You could just... The machine gun reference is just so accurate because everyone's worried about playing their mana dorks. You're just like putting them behind. It's not like they're going to play them because then they'll kill them. So they're like, okay, well, I was going to plan this for turn 3. Now I have to wait till turn 5 and play like fair, nice Magic when I have all my lands out.
But at the same time, my Walking Ballista has 5 counters on it. Are you going to kill it so that you can play your Elvish Mystic? Because if you do, I'm going to respond. This ability costs nothing and remove all 5 counters. And guess what? You're not going to like the outcome. I'm going to kill your 3/3 that you have in play that I wasn't going to kill if you just left it in play. But if you left it in play, then you can't play your stuff. It's like a catch-22. I love it. I love holding people hostage. It's very fun.
And the fact that if you do a catch-all board wipe, it goes, okay, well, I guess I'll just deal 5 to your face at that point. Know, it's just so versatile where it's like, okay, I'll deal to your Planeswalker. I'll deal to your face. Wherever you really need it, I do like the fact that you can use it.
It's also nice that there's no real way to exile this thing like from the battlefield because it can always put itself into the graveyard. So unless they have Farewell All Modes, your Ballista is pretty reliable. You can say, oh, I need this to go infinite, but I'll use it all up now, put it in my graveyard, and I'll Eternal Witness it later, even if you try to Swords it.
Is this just an ad for Farewell at this point?
Yeah, you know what? Farewell does stop Walking Ballista. It does not stop Walking Ballista for infinity. You're already dead at that point. But if you have any counters deck, $9 after the Mystery Booster 2 reprint, and I want to say something else. $9, so fair for this. It's just going to creep back up. It was $12 for like 10 years, I feel like.
It's so versatile whether you're playing it in the high, sweaty bracket 4+ decks or you're just playing it in, your bracket 3, bracket 2 because you just have some counter synergies. I think this is one of the cards where, it's colorless. It can go basically in any bracket, and so it has a lot of flexibility in your collection.
Oh, but I want to jump to a card that is A, very cheap, and B, a Planeswalker, which we do not play very often at all. It is Ashiok Dreamrender, $1.79 for this one. It's 1 blue-black hybrid for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker. Spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause their controllers to search their libraries. And -1, the only ability, target player mills 4, then exile each opponent's graveyard.
Wait, I could do the Beezy rant, I promise. Let me show. When they say spells and abilities your opponent's control can't cause their controller to search the library, it doesn't mean that they can't search the library. It means they're going to play a card like Rampant Growth, and then you're going to go, oh, you can't search your library, did you see? And they'll go, oops, and then bring it back to their hand. It doesn't say that they can't search the library. It says that they get an oopsie, and you'll have to remind them.
I actually forgot about that mini rant, so I'm happy that you reminded me. So nice of you. But yeah, most of the time in like non-cutthroat games, it does say, oopsie, take back your Rampant Growth. I give everybody 1. You get 1 reminder, and then you're going to not search, because my card has to have some text. It doesn't say put the spell back in your hand. Got to read the Planeswalker at some point, guys. I'm sorry. This is more for, I think, the static is very good. It is disruptive, but this is a Planeswalker that can come down pretty cheap, and you can protect it because it's 3 mana, but realistically, I'm happy with -1, mill 4 for me, exile everybody else's graveyard. That's an okay effect. I would say that's probably pushing like 2-ish mana that I would pay for that. Happy to do it. And then if it survives, which I think has happened a decent amount, surprisingly, it does shut down tutors. It stops people from progressing, and it can just keep milling.
Yeah, I think that with its ability, I have never seen you get it less than twice, I'd say. And exiling each opponent's graveyard multiple times can really shut people down very fast. You're going to be getting 8 cards out of it, which is a lot of looks in the graveyard deck.
It's a lot.
And it's just like, if you're not in a very combat-focused deck, I think this can stick around for even like 4 or 5 turns even, unless someone has like the spare Dothy Voidwalker that they're willing to attack with, which is not that often.
It's interesting about the War of the Spark ones because they don't have an ultimate. It's just what would happen if Ashiok sits in play? It's just going to mill somebody for 4. And the exile in graveyards is not relevant anymore because you already did it. So I've definitely had it stick around because of that. It's like, well, I'm not going to search. I'll just hit you for 4.
I mean, it's also juicy, too, because if someone tutors something to the top, Enlighten tutor something, you mill them and then exile their graveyard and they go, oh, your card just doesn't exist anymore.
But that would have to be before Ashiok.
Yeah.
Because you can't search with Ashiok.
Of course.
You then Enlighten tutor, go back to your hand.
Yeah, you only get one, though.
You only get one. That's how you play this card, and I promise it'll be even better when your opponents only get 1 flub off of Ashiok. But I want to talk about a different flub when your foils flub into a Pringle.
Foils curling are the worst. I have seen BZ bend cards back so many times because he hates the curling so much, but we don't do that anymore because we have foil armor. Foil armor are these little packets. You put them into your deck box, you close them, and then you open them again, and your foils are uncurled, and it's really awesome.
Yeah, I would literally take a curled magic card if it was like a random foil from like MH3. I'm sorry, like it's just a random uncommon. I'm going to grind it against the table to bend it, and then the card got destroyed because that's not how you do it. Foil armor is how you do it. It saved me so much stress, honestly. I'm just trying to get the information out there to you. Like, they sponsor the video, but I want you to know about this anyway. They are, like, extremely good.
Not only does it save him stress, it also saves us just the damage on all of our cards, whether they be common, uncommon, or rare, or mythic.
Speaking of damage, Grenzo, Havoc Razor, 49 cents for a red 2/2. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, great segue, choose one, go target creature that player controls, or exile the top card of that player's library. Until end of turn, you may cast that card, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. So we have a 2-mana 2/2 that either kind of draws a card. It's sort of like draw a card minus because I would rather draw from my library than yours. So I would say it's like 0.8 of draw a card, or force one of their creatures to hit somebody else.
I feel like Grenzo's really good against those decks that just really need a creature to stick around, like Esper Sentinel and stuff, because they're not going to block any creature that you send at with it, but then you're going to end up goading that thing too. It's going to be this value piece, and you're going to have to make a bunch of just like little bargains with everyone else, or just hope that someone doesn't have a creature so you can stick it around.
Yeah, I'm not taking that, by the way. I'm letting your Esper Sentinel get running to like a 2/2. I'm blocking it all day. Grenzo, I love it in decks with evasive, like 1/1 flyers, 1/1 unblockables, Changeling Outcast, Fairy Seer type stuff. But I also just love it in mono red, where mono red is like starving for card draw. They will take whatever they can get, and this is a very reasonably costed, easy to play, dirt cheap card. This used to be 20, but it got a reprint in Commander Masters that just killed it, and ever since it's been 50 cents. But I think this is so worth it in those red decks, especially maybe even like Boros, combat damage decks that can hit with a couple things, because it's not whenever one or more creatures hit one player. Like, a lot of cards seem to be templated right now where the maximum triggers you can get is 3, 1 per opponent. This is just if you hit one player with 6 things and the other player with 6 things, you get 12 triggers.
I also really like this with Urbrask's Forge because those tokens have trample on them.
Ooh.
So even if you block these gigantic tokens with like, a 1/1 or a 2/2, there's a chance that damage will bleed over, so you'll kill a thing and then you'll also get one of these triggers too.
I like that, yeah. I think I also like it with Gut. It's in my Gut deck, and Gut keeps spinning out 4/1 menaces. Like, are you really going to double block those? I don't know if anyone's ever double blocked a 4/1 menace unless they're in like danger mode. So you just get triggers on triggers.
I think I've blocked a 4/1 menace before, but I've had so many disposable things, like a bunch of little 1/1s, that it's like, okay, well, I want the death trigger anyways,
Yeah, so get it in with those evasive creatures. Grenzo, very solid. If you forgot that it got reprinted in Commander Masters, here's your reminder to go buy like 2 or 3 of them, because you'll play them.
The next card is a card that I love stealing from our editor, Chris. It's Wormcoil Engine at $11. 6 mana for a 6/6 Death Touch lifelink. When this creature dies, create a 3/3 worm with Death Touch and a 3/3 worm with lifelink. It splits itself into 2, Happy Worm and Sad Worm.
Happy? Which one's happy? Lifelink?
Lifelink.
Oh, why is that such sad?
Because he's gonna die. You gotta
He's
throw.
gonna trade?
He's gonna trade with like a 12/12. He knows what his purpose
The
is.
lifelink always attacks and the Death Touch always blocks. You are pretty correct on that one. Wormcoil Engine, not a card I've loved in bracket 3 and 4 because it's been $25. But now it's $11. And now I feel like that's the time where I'm happy to pick this up and experiment with it. It's just not, like, I'm sorry, this card is not $25 good. It is not good enough to, especially since it's mostly for fun. It's mostly a fun card. You're going to have more fun than like win games with it, if that's a comparison that makes any sense to anyone. But yeah, 11, less than half the price of what it used to be back when I was like pooping on it. And now I think if you want to get it in there, gain some life, get those attacks in, like have some fun with it. I put it in a Brutaclad deck, clone all the worms, like you replicate them out. That's super sweet. It is a little slow.
Yeah, I think that if you can make copies of this, if you can get multiple death triggers, you know, the ones where like if this dies, it'll come back tapped or whatever, if you have a lot of those effects, if you just really want a bunch of, if you can copy all those tokens, it's really, really good. I think that Wormcoil Engine, I don't play it that often because I'm not sure if I have a home for it right now, but every time I go to steal a creature, it's usually pretty high on the list of things that I'm happy to steal.
It's so weird because I don't put it in my deck very often, but when it's in play, I'm like, well, I want that.
Yeah, right.
But I don't. But I
it's
didn't
a good
want
blocker.
To,
it's a good amount of life that you're getting, and then goes, oh, when it dies, I'm also just gonna get a thing about it. Yeah, I'm happy to trade it with your, gigantic thing because then it'll just do 2 more.
Yeah, Wormcoil Engine is really good with sack outlets. I like the fact that if I have a sack outlet with it, they can't exile it, so I'm always going to get my worms out of it, which is good. That's 12 power for 6 mana. And they can't clone it if I feel like that's going to get out of hand. If they put a clone on the stack, I can sack my worm, get 2 worms, and then they clone something else.
Maybe they clone another worm. I've definitely cloned a worm before.
That's pretty sad.
Sometimes you just need a 3/3 blocker.
That's pretty sad. The Fibbage cloning lifelink worm is like...
No, Death Touch worm.
Oh, sorry.
He's a blocker. He's the perfect blocker.
My bad. Let's go to the next card. What is it?
It's Snuff Out at $7.99. 3 and a black for an instant. If you control a swamp, you can pay 4 life rather than the mana cost, which is what you're often doing. Destroy target non-black creature. It can't be regenerated. Now, it's never going to be 4 mana. It's going to be 4 life instead. 40 life, we start in Commander. That is a great rate for a free kill spell. And with its reprints in Doctor Who, with Mystery Booster 2, maybe there's a third one that I'm missing. Either way, though, it's definitely gone down a lot in price, and I'm happy to see that.
Nitpicking nerds have been singing the praises of Snuff Out for
years.
At least 4 years at this point. It's varied in price from $4 to $12. It has never not been worth it. I think this is worth $15. So happy to pick it up at $8 in terms of like how strong is this money-wise? Way more than $8. The only thing that holds us back that I think scares some people away is it's a little bit narrow. It's like the Doomblade. You can't destroy a black creature with it. But the fact that it's just 0 mana, to me, makes this the cream of the crop premium black removal. It's up there with Deadly Relic. It's obviously worse, but it's up there in that arena, I think, for sure.
I'm not worried about the narrowness of this, of being non-black, because there's so many creatures that it does hit. I think the thing that hurts me the most with this is if you control a swamp, actually. You better be playing these in your decks that are mono black or 2-color black, because once you start getting to 3, 4, and 5, I think it starts losing a little bit of that like potency unless you are playing a lot of, typed lands. Or if you're getting a lot of fetches and shocks and all of that, because at that point you have a little bit more control. But if you're playing this in a lot of basics and you have like 3+ colors, I would be a little bit more hesitant.
Yeah, if you're playing 4 colors, you can do Snuff Out, but check for triomes that are black and check for like fetch lands, because if you're just running the like cultivate mana base, it's probably a little worse. It's not the end of the world to have to pay 4 for this, but come on, we're paying $8 for it because we pay 0 mana.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're not pay. I don't think I've ever paid the 4 mana for this unless there was something out that was like if you spend 0 mana, cast a spell, counter it, and that's at like the higher brackets.
What I've done in the late game is I just pay 4 mana because I value 4 life more.
Yeah, that's
fair. So like if you have the mana, like it doesn't mean you lose. It's kind of a bonus that later you don't have to pay 4 life. If you're getting crushed by something and you're at 3, you can still cast Snuff Out, which is cool.
Yeah, but that's not our end goal. Our end goal is to be able to cast it for 4 life instead of 4 mana, but it is nice to have that flexibility.
So true. Next, a $1 card, Lysa, Shroud of Dusk. Lysa? 2 white, black for a 5/5. It's got flying and lifelink and an irrelevant commander ability that I'm not going to read because we're talking about these cards in the 99. Whenever a player casts a spell, they lose 2 life. That does include you, but you have a 5/5 flying lifelink.
This is very relevant, I'd say. I think with the amount of spells that we're casting nowadays in Commander, it's always going up and up, whether that's through power creep or because of different synergies or whatever. We're seeing this with like the Alphanai Levenor. We're seeing this with the new guy from Edge of Eternities. The second spell you cast each turn costs 2 less, 1 less. You get this for casting the second spell. You get this.
Like Cascade or just Discover.
Yeah, if you do this, you get this. There are so many ways that you can be casting double spells each turn, and this starts to add up quite a lot. We've seen it in Campbell where it's like the non-creature stuff adds up. Well, this is any spell. Will just add up. But with the flying lifelinker, you can keep, you can attack with it. It will usually get in, and it'll shred people's life down pretty fast, and you'll be getting a little bit of that buff.
Right. And it also is a little bit one-sided the turn you play it. It's going to be the last spell you play. If you're a sequencing king or queen, play Lysa last, and then you don't lose any life until it gets back around to your turn, at which point your opponents have already lost a decent chunk of life, and then you can play stuff and it offsets the lifelink. It's fine. So Lysa, for $1, this is such an annoying text box. Sometimes your opponents can't play the game. If they're at like 10 or less life, it becomes really close to you can't take any crazy actions until you get rid of Lysa, and sometimes they can't, and they just go, pass.
It is not typical for people to be playing this in CEDH, but I do because I have a weird deck. And if you are in any sort of pod where they are paying life for a bunch of stuff, this becomes so relevant so fast. How many times have you Necropotence down to 3 or something, and then just been hard locked because it's like, okay, if I cast 2 spells, I lose the game right now. So I go, pass?
Yeah, we're not a CEH channel, but this card is worth noting that it does increase in power the higher you go, and it's pretty much playable in any bracket, because even if they're trying to go ad nauseum, it's just going to shred their life. And I think it's a very relevant thing. It's castable. It's not too expensive. It's 5 mana. That's right at the top end of hate bear effects that you could afford.
I mean, there's also just the fact that we have Erebos, your opponents can't gain life. This and that together is awful. I'm not paying 6 life for a snuff out sometimes unless I'm in more dire straits,
Yeah,
for life,
hit Lysa.
for life, I'm a little bit, okay, well, I'm paying 0 mana, 6 life, and then this thing is still out because I can't hit it with snuff out. Oof, well, that's getting a little bit dicey.
When I'm at 40, I always feel safe playing Mishra's Bauble and stuff against this, and then I always regret it later, I should have just held it.
Yeah,
And
well, I mean, that's you. I don't think anyone else feels the same way.
I'm just oh man, Lysa, it's pretty brutal. I almost wish it was a worse body. I wish it was a 3/3 flying lifelink, because then it would stay in play more. Some people kill it just because they're worried about the 5, and I'm like, that's not what you should be worried about.
Yeah, you should be worried about chaining all of your spells together. It's okay, just, I've slapped this down. It's okay, what are you going to do? Are you going to play your Atali next? I don't really think so. That's a lot of life you're going to be losing real quickly.
Oh, anything to hold back the deluge of Atalis.
But if you want to see an awesome card on this list, how about you check out moxfield.com, the best place online to be building decks and checking out cards.
You can follow us. You can follow anyone. You can sort. You can tag. You can customize. You can use a QR code to show someone your deck. I mean, we're living in the future.
That is awesome. I love the fact that you can search through all of your decks to find exactly the card that you're playing. Are you playing Grenzo Havoc Razor anywhere? Perhaps. Well, you can search in the search bar through all of your decks, and the decks that with Grenzo Havoc Razor will come up immediately.
I'm honestly a big fan of just organizing everything into folders. We have a bunch of decks that we upgrade for other people. We throw on deck masters, things that people need to have access to. And for us to still be able to use Moxfield perfectly, because everything's just can be sorted in folders, if you want to, it's just the perfect website. But it's time to go big. We're going big with Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, in mana value, and it's one of the more expensive cards on here. It is a $25 card right now. 10 mana, 10/10. When you cast this spell, exile 2 target permanents. It's indestructible, by the way. That's a pretty nice bonus. And whenever it attacks, defending player exiles the top 20 cards of their library. This is one of my favorite big mana payoffs that does not have Annihilator. A, Annihilator cards are really expensive. The main Eldrazi, Ulamog and Kozilek, the other ones. And B, it's not very fun. This is, I think, the perfect blend of really, really strong, still kind of kills people, but doesn't take one player out of the game too much faster than everybody else. It's just a 10 mana double removal spell that starts milling people.
I like Ulamog a lot. I'm playing all of the big Eldrazi Titans and all of them in Selvala because it's big mana. I can ramp these out a lot faster than everyone else. And with this, being able to exile 2 target permanents, not non-land permanents, as things often say. So if you have a pesky Nykthos or anything like that,
Field of the Dead,
you can snipe both of those. And then when he attacks, having someone exile top 20 is very relevant.
It's good. Yeah, I mean, in the later games, you can just kill somebody the same way you would with Annihilator, but it doesn't remove their lands or ability to play the game, I think is probably what I was getting at. We're they're not dead because you attack them. They're closer to dead. They're in trouble, but they have all their resources to deal with it. Ulamog's a great card to loop as well. If you bounce it, recast it, there's loops you can get into with that just say, hey, the game's over now. But this thing used to be, it was like 60 forever. It was carrying the value of Battle for Zendikar on its back alongside the Expeditions. It was like the only valuable card in the entire set.
Yeah, this card is very reasonably priced, I'd say. I think everything is falling more than I expected nowadays, and I'm happy to see it. It makes a lot of these cards more accessible to the people building these decks.
Yeah, I think also there's a little bit less demand for it in like Modern and stuff. I think there's been other like outlets for spending a bunch of mana with like the Tron decks that Ulamog is a little bit less shiny and new now. But so I'm 25. I'm pretty happy to pick it up. It's a good top end for your deck, and it will get the job done. It will actually answer things without necessarily causing too many people to cry.
The next card is a card that has had some power in our latest Deckmasters episode. It's Zakama Primal Calamity at $1.79. 6 white, green, red for a 9/9 Vigilance, Reach, Trample. When he enters, if you cast it, untap all lands you control, so it could be free. 2 and a red, it deals 3 damage to target creature. 2 and a green, destroy target artifact or enchantment. 2 and a white, you gain 3 life, which you can activate all of these the turn that it enters if you casted it with only lands.
Yeah, presumably you will get 3 activations. The white one is the worst by a mile, but it is still nice that it's on the card. Mostly you are going to pay 3 mana to destroy something. You're either killing a utility creature or maybe doubling up in some cases. Instead, maybe you hit somebody's face or you're destroying an artifact or enchantment. This thing dominates the board by itself, and that's a lot for a card that's $1.79. This is a great top end, not just dinosaurs. Obviously, it's a dinosaur kindred card, but any deck that is big mana and most of the ramp is land based. It's all land ramp if you're playing bounce lands and rampant growth and all that stuff. Cool. Zakama's going to be maximally good for you. You're going to play it. You're going to float some mana. Then maybe you get 4 activations. Maybe you have a Zerda out and it's just cracked. No spoilers. But then you just start machine gunning things down, killing players left and right. Big boy. Reach and Vigilance means, and Trample means it's just getting in, and it's blocking everything.
Zakama used to be a lot more expensive, but the Commander Masters reprint a couple years ago really killed the price. I'm happy to see it settle at $1.79 because I think this is a card that if you can produce all of that mana, it should be played in more decks. It's definitely not just a dinosaur card.
It's also a card that can go infinite. I know that some of the stuff involved with that is when it is your commander, and you can return it back to your hand or from the command zone and stuff, but even just in the 99, playing it and finding loops where lands can bounce it or permanents can bounce it every turn, or you're buying back a capsize or something like that.
Shaya combos?
Shaya combos. It's just, Zakama is very, very good, and it's such a cheap pickup that can dominate the game. And I think it maybe was a little bit like, it was like wince inducing to try to pay $9 for it, not knowing, oh, is this the top end my deck wants? $2. Try it out. You're going to have fun with it, bare minimum, and it's probably a good top end for your Naya ramp decks.
The next card is a card from Modern Horizons 3. There are a lot of good cards from that set, and it's one that I was trying out for a really long time and liked a lot. It's Eladamri Corvikal. Is that how you say it?
Corvikdal?
Corvikdal. $6.49. 1 green green for a 3/3. You can look at the top card of your library at any time. You can cast creature spells from the top. If you pay green, tap it. Tap 2 untapped creatures you control. Reveal a card from your hand or to the top of your library. If you reveal a creature card this way, you put it onto the battlefield only during your turn, though. I was playing this in Elves, and it was surprisingly very good. With Elves, obviously you have a ton of little guys to activate that second ability, and having something either from the hand or the top of the library, I think is very good, because if you have something big in your hand that you want to play, that is a big discount, and if you want to take the chance, look at the top, get a little bit more information, then you also have that ability.
Elves is a great example because it is a deck that plays a bunch of little dudes like Elvish Visionary, Dwindon's Elite, Elvish Mystic, that stuff, and then it plays a bunch of big boys like maybe Ulamog at the top end, or other things that you want to cheat out. Annihilator or Eldrazi are great to cheat out. This card scales to your deck, so the higher power stuff you're playing, the higher power stuff this cheats out, and the bigger of a threat it is.
This is very cool. I like the fact that it's a little bit of card advantage, because with Eladamri, you're casting stuff from the top to begin with, and if you have a surplus of creatures, you gotta play this in a very creature-heavy deck, and you gotta play it with a lot of things, like a lot of little guys. You better be able to make a few little guys that you can activate that second ability, or else it's just not as good. But if you have I'd say at least like a third to half of your deck is creatures, then you'll get a lot of advantage from having the top card being able to cast it off the top.
Yeah, and I want to stress that I don't really like Elvish Piper in Commander. I think that card is very slow, and I think it's very like vulnerable and doesn't really give you that much. But Eladamri, I think what offsets it and makes it, to me, the best Elvish Piper in the format is that it has that static card advantage. When you draw it late, you're not completely miserable and regretting all your life decisions. You play it, you look at the top, and you maybe start getting creatures off of it. Very, very different from Elvish Piper. Very, very better.
And it's also like you can just chain a bunch of stuff. In Elves, you're like, okay, there's like an Elvish Mystic on top. I'll cast that. Okay, there's another, Llanowar Elves. I'll cast that. And then you look at the top, there's a big boy. You can tap it. And then right from the top, you go, okay, I'll rip this instead. It's like a 6 or 8 mana thing too.
Best friends with mana dorks, especially since this is 3 mana, and any mana dork on turn 1 means you can play Eladamri on turn 2, possibly get to activate it on turn 3. Super sweet. Love the card advantage. Much better than Elvish Piper. Next, a card that will end games, and I swear to God, this card is unremovable because it never happens when I'm playing. Mana Barbs is $4.99 right now, and for what it does to a game, that's worth it because it shreds the game into pieces. It's 3 and a red for an enchantment. Whenever a player taps a land for mana, this enchantment deals 1 damage to that player. That happens all the time.
I feel like there's so many effects in this game where it's like, yeah, it's bad for me, but it's worse for them,
Yep.
so I'm going to not remove it. I feel like when I've played this, I completely agree with you where I don't see it removed that often because it's always worse for somebody else. And, I might be losing 5 life from it, but they're losing 15.
And they're at 10 life right now.
Yeah, and so I don't see this removed that often. And if you're the one playing it, then you're obviously going to get the most advantage from it. And if it can fit into the deck, well, that's really awesome. Sure, you might get a little bit hurt in the process, but everyone's going to get hurt more because you know how to play it the best.
This is great for decks that are like maxing out on Convoke stuff, Mana Dorks, Mana Rocks. None of that triggers Mana Barbs, so you're fine. Damage doublers if you're playing Group Slug. I want to maybe get away from Group Slug because this is the most obvious Group Slug card in the universe. I think this is just good for aggro decks that are trying to end the game. I'm going to put this, now that I'm seeing it's only $5 and it's not that bad of a pickup, I'm going to put this in my mono red deck. It's just an aggro deck.
I want to put it in there too. I want to put it in Perforos.
Yeah.
I think I'm not playing that many lands in there. I'm wanting everyone to get burned out for damage. This is going to help the table get burned out for damage quite fast.
Because I think even as a red deck, even with your Perforos and my gut deck, we want to get really ahead on board. By turn 5, we're going to have the best board state. That's how the deck works. We're playing aggro. And then I'm just going to play Mana Barbs, and then I'm just going to hold up like the redirects, the red ones, like, Untimely Malfunction, and I'll just hold up like Chaos Warps and stuff. Have my board state be the thing that is going to pressure everyone. They're struggling to keep up with Mana Barbs, and by the time they figure out an answer to one of them, they're dead to the other one.
I also think that we are just playing more burn nowadays because there's some really cheap burn spells.
Burn's good.
And we're not just talking about like the group slug decks. No, in our mono red decks, we're playing things like Price of Progress because it just speeds up the game, and we want to burn.
Links.
Yeah, we want to burn them out as fast as possible. Dragonhawk and stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's just these ways to burn out the rest of the table where even if it hurts us a little bit in the process, it will hurt everyone a lot more because our decks are tuned and tailored to take advantage of that and to deal out damage faster than the rest of the table is.
Nobody's playing aggro in Commander.
That is true.
When I sit down with an aggro deck, I'm the only one doing it almost all the time, just because most people fall into some kind of like
mid-rangey,
slower, grindy, I can't wait to play Psych Rift on turn 8 type like stuff. So when you pressure their life total, get them down to 20, you're at 40, I'll take a Mana Barbs. What do I care? I go to 30, they go to, being able to not cast spells now.
Yeah, especially if you're using something like treasures or mana rocks or something, because when you're in mono red or red plus to begin with, there's so many things that exile the top 3 because we don't get real card draw. You make 3 treasures out of it. Well, that doesn't trigger Mana Barbs.
Yeah, or you like Mana Geyser.
Yeah, so you're doing a lot better than everyone else is.
Super great. Now, if you want to really spend that pretty penny, I think it's a great time to buy Smothering Tithe. It's a $45 card these days, which is down from where it peaked at. It is 3 and white for an enchantment. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they may pay 2 if they're silly, but if they don't, which they won't, you create a treasure token. Most of the time, we don't pay. If they're paying for Smothering Tithe, their hand is terrible.
Smothering Tithe is crazy because I remember getting back into Magic. I've taken a couple breaks here and there in my life. And I remember getting back around, Crimson Vow or something. And I remember buying Smothering Tithe. And it was $40 back then, too. So, and then it's peaked at 60 or something. So to see it fluctuating and still being at 45 really shows that even with reprints, it's still going to be that good of a card. That yes, they can look at the card after they draw it and see what they want to pay to. But if they are doing well in the game, they just won't, and you'll get a treasure token instead.
Yeah, the question of, is this card $45 good? My answer is, definitely yes. I think I wouldn't feel bad paying 50 for it. So 45, here we go. I think it's worth it. It can dominate games by itself. I've had it. I've played this on turn 4 with no real game plan. I kept a bad hand, and then I just untap with 8 more treasures, and I'm just like, well, guys, I win now. You gave me too much stuff.
Yeah, and if you can proactively make Smothering Tithe win, that is awesome. I play it in a deck with a lot of wheels in it, and I have won the game. Smothering Tithe and a wheel just means I have way more mana than everyone else.
And I don't know if this is me just being behind, but I know that when Smothering Tithe came out, some people were like, oh, well, you play with Windfall, and then it's really, really good. But I never saw anybody actually do that. But seeing you do it like consistently, like that's the whole point for you. Like you're going to always have it if you untap with Smothering Tithe because you have 10 wheels in that deck. It's busted.
Yeah,
it's
really
like
good.
The game is over. She's storming off. Wheel into wheel into wheel. You're just dead. She's profiting 20 mana every time. Expo.
Yeah, it is a very nasty card, and I feel like it's one of the main reasons where I'm sad to see that like the Nekuzar decks don't get white. But because if they did, they would be shoving this card into every one of their Nekuzar decks that they could because it would be so nasty. But as the one who runs Nekuzar plus white, it's great.
Most of the wheel decks are Grixis, and you miss out on this is probably the best wheel card like ever.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is one of the best wheel cards ever.
Like it might even be better than Waste Not. Because it just gives you the mana for anything, and it sticks around, and it just,
no one's going to be paying 2 mana per card when you make them, they have 10 cards in their
12?
hand.
I don't think they have that laying around.
I don't think they'll be doing that. And then especially if you have like the Burning Inquiries and the little stuff, you're still profiting a ton of mana off of that.
Even Gyro Reach Sanitarium goes hard with this. I think you should probably play Gyro Reach in any deck with Smothering Tithe that's not 4 colors.
Yeah, Smothering Tithe, nasty card.
Nasty
Wonderful.
card. There's so many ways to take advantage of it. See if you can find those ways to force them to draw. Very, very nice. Next, Life from the Loam. $7.99 for this 1 and a green sorcery. Return 3 lands from your graveyard to your hand, and it has Dredge 3. So instead of drawing, if this is in your graveyard, put the exactly the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard, then return this to your hand. Just the definition of spinning wheels. You are accomplishing stuff, especially with extra land drops, but for me, I just like doing it.
Life from the Loam was a lot more expensive before it got a reprint in Tarkir Dragonstorm. A lot of good reprints in that set.
Yeah, the precon. What a precon.
But I think they should bring Dredge back more. I think it's an awesome mechanic, and we don't see it enough in Commander, but Life from the Loam, what a good card. You're playing this for 2 mana. You put 3 cards into your graveyard, and then you just return it again. You don't even need to have lands in your graveyard to make this work because it's just up to.
Look, Dredge is one of the 5 most busted mechanics ever made. It's not even remotely fair. But you know what? Legacy players are going to get trashed by whatever comes out in the precons anyway. Let's just get some more Dredge cards. I like your stance on that.
I think, with all of the new mechanics coming out to begin with, just bring back Dredge. We already
like a Dredge 10.
We have better cards that have come out lately than Dredge 3.
Give me a Dredge 10.
I'm excited. If I have to play with all these other completely broken cards, if I have to see Atali triggers, 4 times in a single game, bring back Dredge. Bring back Dredge 10.
Hear me out. Street Wraith, but with like Dredge 1. Do you know how...
Please stop bringing up Street Wraith.
I love it. Street Wraith Dredge 1. That sounds like an unfair card. Life from the Loam is great for your land decks. It's great for your graveyard decks. I use it in graveyard decks with no land synergies just to get a consistent fill of graveyard, and also helps you never miss land drops. Like if you're Life from the Loam, you are never missing land drops. You can even use it as weird card draw if you start bringing back cycling lands. There's a lot of cool stuff with Life from the Loam. It's a great engine by itself. Fuels itself, even with no targets on turn 2. You play it does nothing. Then next turn, you dredge it, and now you've got lands to start going off with it. Great with fetch lands because you can continuously get them back.
If I ever make Uro not budget, this is one of the first cards I'm putting in that deck.
Oh, gross. Please don't.
Life from the Loam, awesome card.
Don't do it. That's absolutely nasty. But we're going to have some fun here. We are speculating. Speculating means buying a card with the intention, hopes that we'll go up. We are competing with each other for the year, but we're only buying 5 copies of a card. We're not trying to make $1,000. We're not trying to ruin the market. We're just playing because we like to compete with each other, often for no real reason.
Last month, my spec was Energy Chamber. It is $0.00 up and $0.00 down, which means completely even, which means I have a clean slate
not
to
great.
Some extent.
Not great, but not awful.
Probably not great. My spec this month is Arachnogenesis, $3.49. I'm doing the borderless foil from Commander Masters. Everyone loves a good, gotcha card. And Arachnogenesis used to be a very expensive card. And with Spider-Man coming up, everyone's going to want these spider synergies. I think that Arachnogenesis, they're going to want the little bit of a blingy version.
Yeah.
I can see this going into a bunch of decks and a lot more spider decks coming up and being played.
Well, it was only like 75 cents more for the premium borderless foil than the
Yeah,
regular one. So I think that makes sense. That's a good one. Mine was Core Tapper. I'm dumb. It was in the pre-con. $0 change. Who would have thought? But I did spec on the foil Double Masters version. I thought that would be good. My spec is Curse of Clinging Webs right now, the extended art printing. Another spider card, at $3.50 also for this one. So same price. This is extended. It's non-foil. It's pre-con only. I think those are tricky sometimes. Those can explode when a new thing comes out and everybody's super, super in on it, and it's the hot, trendy thing. So hopefully that is Curse of Clinging Webs and not Arachnogenesis.
But if you want to see any more cool gameplay or cards that we mentioned, you should check out this gameplay episode right here.